Good evening and welcome to episode 4 of PrimetimeUGC. I'm CaptPFDennis and I'm here with my co-host Filbones. We have a great show for you tonight, and we know you've been anticipating the second half of our exclusive interview with H2O Rat.
Not only that, Captain, but we've got plenty of news and info lined up along with our usual feature request and bug report. Then we'll top it off with a list of newest Foundry missions to play.
And if I'm not mistaken, you've got a few words concerning the new featured episode series.
No, you're not mistaken. So let's get this show started.
Block. Strike. Oh, by the sword of Kalis. Wake. Wake, little warrior. You should have taken that batak in 4 moves. Ah! What? Klingons don't fly. Stop it right now. Wait a minute. Did you have a meal this morning before the contest?
No, Father.
No? Foolish child. That is why you failed. You must eat a good meal to keep your strength up and be alert. Come, I have just the thing. Kellogg's Rock Bites, the live cereal that contains all the nutrients a growing Klingon warrior needs. And they taste great too. Why, we've had rocked bites from the house of Kellogg around our table for generations. Why, 1 bowl of this, and you'll be able to ground your friend out there into dust. You will have your vengeance, my little warrior. And remember the proverb, revenge is a dish best served cold, and rock bites is a cold cereal. It is a meal fit for Kalis himself, and it's part of an honorable breakfast. Now go out there and gut your enemy. Ha 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 ha.
Welcome to Feature Request of the Week.
Later, as part of Feature Request, I'm going to be doing a review of Cryptic's feature episode Second Wave. But before I do, I noticed in the forum a post from Kirkvat requesting space map sounds for ground maps, which brings me to an interesting concept. Triggered sounds. Now, devs have said they would like to add sounds to Foundry, and have gone as far to say it might be possible for the future using voiceovers from the current game content.
Barneyskins, Barneyskins.
Right, I probably shouldn't get too carried away. However, ambient sound and voiceovers being triggered would make not only a mission more immersive, but also give authors the tool to set the mood of a scene. Anyone thinking Alfred Hitchcock Psycho? I am. And if you have any brilliant Foundry ideas, be sure to send them to mailbag@primetimeugc.com. Thank you. I'll keep it brief knowing how big this week's episode is. While we wait for new Foundry features being worked on very diligently by the devs, I have some bad news for Foundry. Many new Silver players are having trouble purchasing the Foundry feature within Stowe. This is very disheartening knowing how much Foundry gameplay means to the community that supports it. If you're having an issue, be sure to visit the Stowe official site and under support, submit a ticket. Let's hope we can help the devs get to a solution as soon as possible. Another issue affecting the community is pop-up triggers. Apparently, most of them don't work. I suggest all Foundry authors stay clear and use spawn points for now, until Cryptic can revisit the code that provides the trigger feature. Last but not least, Demo Record. Demo Record is a tool that powers PrimetimeUGC as well as much more Stowe promotional mediums throughout the internet. At the moment, NPC costumes are still unable to be recorded amongst many other bugs that are breaking this MMO's most prized possession for Foundry authors. Please, Cryptic, just give it a little love. A band-aid and a kiss on the cheek should do. Well, at least that always worked for me. So, Foundry authors, keep those bug reports coming on the official forum, and good luck.
And now, as promised, the continuation of Primetime UGC's exclusive interview with H2O Rat.
Before we start the interview, I should probably do the disclaimer that anything that I say, especially my opinions or comments about certain things I like to see in the game, don't necessarily reflect exactly what Cryptic is thinking or mean that they're actually going to happen. Keep in mind, I am the video guy. So that being said, what would you like to know?
How about a few words on the cutscene tool?
About a year and a half ago, we always had a cutscene engine, but again, like when I came on board, we had a demo record engine. It was very difficult to use or didn't have a lot of features to it. So because I had a lot of experience modding games, especially with the Aurora toolset, which is BioWare's toolset, I've always loved when they came out with Dragon Age, they have a really great camera toolset. And they use basically a linear track. Much like you would open up a non-linear editing system, you would have tracks, either for sound or for your camera or for your shots. So I kind of spoke up about this. I went to Ivan, who runs our marketing department, as well as to Stephen D'Angelo, who back then, it was before he was EP on Star Trek. And I'm like, guys, look at what they're doing with the power of this cutscene tool they have, and I want this. And I explained what it was, how it worked, and basically I said, I want something where I can lay down, spawn my own entities, have them do something that I tell them to do, put down waypoints, be able to use the camera system that we already have. So we pretty much have that. You can spawn objects. You can animate objects. I do that a lot for some of the ship shots. Like, for instance, in the opening shot I did for the teaser I did for the 2800.
Which was fantastic, by the way.
Thank you. Again, yes. You always want more time to work on these. That was done in a matter of days. And a lot of times we'll have anywhere from maybe 3 days. Sometimes on a big trailer, we'll get 2 weeks. But on a longer trailer, like for instance, I when I worked on the teaser or not the teaser, but the launch trailer for Free to Play, that was great because that trailer I wanted to make literally since day one. We, backing up a little bit, back in the Atari days, when we first started making trailers for Star Trek, my team, back then I had 2 interns and myself, and we ended up hiring the interns, 2 great guys. But we were making some of the trailers both for Champions and for Star Trek. But Atari was making a lot of the trailers back then too, and I'm not saying anything bad about Atari, but at times I don't think they understood what Star Trek was all about. And in particular, they made one trailer, and it was basically titled Exploration. And all you saw in that trailer was Fed ships blowing the crap out of Klingons or whatever, right?
I think I remember
that. If you remember that trailer, right?
Yeah.
So I saw that trailer, and it was funny because we would all we would do was shoot B-roll for them. In fact, that's what my 2 guys did most of the time. For like the first year, they just shot B-roll. They made a couple trailers, but they were B-roll guys. They would just shoot B-roll, and we'd upload it, and Atari had 2 full-time editors, and they would put out some trailers. So basically, in more simple terms, they would just shoot lots and lots of footage, and we'd upload it, and you can make trailers from it. Also, like, IGN would have access to it. G4 TV would have access to it. So they could make their own little trailers when they want to talk about Star Trek or for Champions. So anyways, we saw that, and I think my favorite comment on that whole thing, I still, like, it's so vivid, is somebody made a comment on YouTube going, wow, they explore the crap out of those guys.
Yeah.
And it was just, from that day on, I was like, I want to do something. The game hadn't launched at that point. And I said, we got to show our fans that Cryptic in particular knows what Star Trek is. I have to tip my hat to the guys, the dev team. I mean, you want to talk about people who are passionate about Star Trek and care about Star Trek. And if you think about it, doing engaging missions in a video game about exploration and diplomacy is not easy. You know, it's there's a couple games out there that have done it, like old games. Like there was an old, I want to call it Free Trader. It was an old PC game back like in the 386 days. That was basically, it was just a free roaming game. You're a trader and you just roam the galaxy. I think they did a pretty good job with that. But it is difficult to make it entertaining, especially an MMO game that has that. And I think they're basically tapping into their mojo these days and starting to go that way and bringing these things that you guys want to see besides combat. And the team, you know, they understand that. They know that. They love Star Trek. And you're going to see more and more of that being developed. Well, it's like, for instance, when I make trailers, I know guys, our fans would love for me to do I want to call it a Rachel Garrett piece, like a slow thing. There's no way that I will get the approval process to do something like that. I've got a minute and a half to basically show action, because when we make a marketing trailer, it's not just necessarily for our players that we currently have, right? The goal is to bring in new players, people who maybe don't know Star Trek or don't even know the game exists, and draw them into the game. So, like, go look at any Star Trek actual movie trailer, and it's not beauty shots, right? It's action. There's explosions. There's people shooting people, right? It's just the way it is. You need to draw people in with explosions and gunfights. So
I can't think of many games at all where the trailer doesn't have some sort of fighting or explosions. Like in any game trailer, anywhere, there's always something that someone kills someone. I mean, that's kind of the basis.
And that's what's great about our community is I know that somebody out there will do these other types of trailers. You know, be it Rachel Garrett or somebody else, and it is very Star Trek. And some things that, you know, we can't do internally, but the fans out there can do it. And it's really great to see the tools that we develop and release to be kind of owned by you guys, and to see where you guys take it, not just with Foundry missions and the machinima things you guys are putting out, but just everything all tied together. It's just Star Trek Online itself, I think, is more than just the MMO. It's about Star Trek. So if we can give you a tool, be it playing the game, being in that universe as a player, as a character, or using the tool set to make a machinima. I mean, some people may never even play the game, but use the tool set to make their own machinima series. Or go on there and tell your own stories through the Foundry. I think that's what makes the game so great. And I think that is ultimately what Cryptic's mission is not just to make a game, but make something that Star Trek fans, make a story device for Star Trek fans with different avenues where you can tell stories.
I see STO as a community of everything coming together, and Cryptic are just the people that created this community and still developing it, and developing all these tools for us, the community, to go on and make even more. And I'm eternally thankful to you all. It's wonderful.
It is. It's fantastic.
We're very thankful for you guys. I mean, without you, I mean, you guys are the guys that ultimately sign our paychecks. You know, yes, sometimes they say Cryptic on it or Perfect World, but you guys really are the guys that sign our paychecks, and we all know that. And you know, we're constantly aware of it and making new stuff for you. There's, you know, the team is no longer working on free to play, which was a huge amount of work. Nobody, I think, truly understands how much work went into making Star Trek free to play. But let me get back on track, because, like I said, I'm Mr. Tangent. So we were talking about the cutscene tool, right? The cutscene tool, if you kind of blend in the Foundry, the creative power behind the Foundry, and demo record, is kind of what you get with the cutscene tool. So if you can imagine opening up the camera tool with extra tracks where you can spawn entities, which are critters, you can spawn objects, you can spawn effects. So if you open up Premiere, you know how Premiere looks, or Final Cut, and you've got your tracks. You would have an object track. You can add more object tracks. So you'd add an object track and you'd spawn an object. Let's say it's the Defiant ship, and that's how I did the opening scene for the 2800. So I went into the Deep Space Nine map, pulled the camera way back, spawned the Defiant where I wanted it. You notice there's no engine trails on the Defiant because you can't animate effects, unfortunately. You can only make it come in, but you can't animate world space. You can't make an effects move in world space, but you can make an object move. So I brought in the Defiant as an object. I animated it, do its flyby by the camera, added some more ships that gave it some depth, some Z depth into the shot. So that was all done in the cutscene tool, and it was done in a matter of minutes. And that is the power of the cutscene tool. the problem with giving you the cutscene tool, first of all, you guys are very clever. I know you'd be able to figure it out, but right now there's no UI for it, right? You have to go in as a dev through a dev tool set to get to it. Eventually, I'm really hoping that you guys do get the cutscene tool so you can actually, again, use it either for machinima purposes or for bringing your own cutscenes into your Foundry missions. The one thing you will not be able to do, most likely, I mean, anything can change, but pretty much can guarantee you will not be able to bring in your own sounds, import your own sounds or geometry. And there's reasons why. I've kind of mentioned it a couple times on the forums. And, this is not like Neverwinter where Neverwinter was not an MMO. People will argue that it was an MMO. No, it's not an MMO. BioWare, years down the road, gave us hooks for SQL and things like that so we can build our own persistent worlds with their tool set, but it's not an MMO. When you go into Star Trek Online, you're going to Cryptic's server. Yeah. Cryptic is responsible for what is on that server.
Oh, absolutely.
So if there's things on that server that break copyright, Cryptic is liable for it. So we have to be very, very careful about it. What is able to be displayed through our game engine. Well, look how many trailers use music from Two Steps from Hell. I love their stuff. I wish I could get access to that music. Unfortunately, I mean, they are the trailer guys. All their stuff is bought by the big movie studios. I did look into it, of course, but Warner Brothers, Paramount, all the big guys, they own all the tracks. Anything that's good, they own it already. And they're not going to talk to us about, we can't, even if it's like, we'll give you X amount of dollars. They don't want to. It's their stuff for the movie trailers. In fact, go look at any movie trailer, and I guarantee you you can hear Two Steps from Hell in their movie trailers. So there really is no access to it. And look at how many machinima trailers are out there using Two Steps from Hell. If we gave you guys the ability to do it, even if we're saying, don't do it, I guarantee you there would be, music copyright violations and, people pulling sound clips out of movies and the series, things that we just can't do, right? You can pull up any sound that's already in the game, both VO as well as music or sound effects, and you cue it just like you basically get a timeline like you would be in Premiere. And let's say at 1 second, it's not, our timeline is you can't zoom in like you can in Premiere and exactly you're at frame, 335 or you're at SMPTE code, 1 minute and 10 frames. It's not that exact, but it's pretty exact. It's close. But you can cue things. So you want at 10 seconds, you want obasec to say this VO line. And what's cool is you can actually tell the cutscene tool that, all right, so you got the VO playing at this time, but you can actually connect it to his entity object, and he'll lip sync. Just like when you talk through our voiceover stuff in game, it does the kind of, but it'll actually lip sync to his mouth. And again, it is very primitive lip sync. It's more like gum chewing than lip syncing. But at least the mouth moves a little bit, right? Because it's tough. I always make trailers, and one of the things, the feedback I always get from my guys being my boss, is that, we try to do lots of lip syncing, especially my trailers. You're going to sell most of my trailers, especially from Champions. I try to do stories in all my little trailers, and it's really tough to get somebody to lip sync in our games. Unfortunately, Demo Record doesn't record that lip sync function to the cutscene tool. It's frustrating because I can see it when I play back the cutscene, but it won't actually make the frames yet. I'm trying to get that to work. Hopefully it does get tied in. And if that does get tied in, that's even more reason to give you guys the cutscene tool. So when you do cinema projects, you can do that. Basically what I try to do is have body language. So I basically, it's basically going back and retiming your cut to the VO and just tweaking out the velocity of that footage. So it kind of like it looks a little choppy, but you're trying to make them at least kind of read visually like they're talking, whatever they're saying. So hopefully, eventually, we'll get lip syncing in, so you can do machinima. I would love it as well, right? It takes a lot of time to try to get something that looks lip synced, but we'll see. Again, the big hurdle between getting you guys the cutscene tool is getting a UI built around it so you can use it. But it's I think it's a big future for Star Trek. If we can keep building upon it, look at Neverwinter. The game is it's 10 years old. I know that I haven't played it in a while, but I believe the game server aspect of it has been shut down. But there's still people modding that game today, and it's because of the tools. It's in the creative hands of the users. So I think Star Trek Online's got a very bright future. Well, like I said, the cubicles are now full. Free to play, that whole task, that monumental task of going free to play it's done. I mean, sure, there's bugs we want to go back and fix in the game, and I know they want to add more Klingon content, of course. You know, there's devs working full time. There's a lot of new devs too, so give Cryptic some time to get the new guys up to speed. It is a tricky tool set to learn, and you know, you may see some things breaking more than normal because there are a lot of new employees, but you're going to see a ton of new stuff, you know, coming down your way. So I think the patience is going to be well worth it.
Is there anything you'd like from us in the Foundry community?
Just keep basically knocking our socks off with both Foundry missions and the machinima projects you guys are making. It definitely energizes the team more than anything else. And you know, we do play the Foundry missions, and we do watch the machinima projects. So you know, keep it up. Keep inspiring us at Cryptic and at Perfect World.
Excellent.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure being here, guys.
And that's the conclusion of our interview with Mark Valentine. And we'd like to say thank you again from PrimetimeUGC and from the Foundry community. And now a word from our sponsor.
All this training, battle drills, and killing works up quite a thirst, and even though we are Jem'Hadar, we occasionally get fatigued, especially when we become honored elders like me. That's why I love Victory Energy Drink. Victory gives you that 26-hour boost that Jem'Hadar over 20 sometimes require. First, and Victory contains half the sugars of other energy drinks. First, so it's much less filling and won't slow you down. First, what is it second? Victory is also the only energy drink that contains the isogenic enzyme that every Jem'Hadar needs. That's right. It's brewed from the finest trinucleic fungi this side of the Cabrel system. It keeps me alert so I can keep killing and maiming all day long without tiring. And it's got half the calories of other brands. I am First Ren, and I am tired. And at our age, we are all tired. We drink to reclaim our energy. This we do gladly, because we are Jem'Hadar. And remember, victory is light. Victory is light. In the Federation justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the Starfleet officers who investigate violations, and the silicon-based life forms who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories.
Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be looking at the feature episode. Today I'll be talking about Second Wave and posing the question, how have Foundry authors influenced devs and gameplay? How will the new episode influence Foundry missions, and what expectations do the players now have? Well, at least that was the plan. The only major positive I could find for this mission was DOF assignments and objectives within a mission. As a Foundry enthusiast, I can see many ways that this could be implemented within the Foundry. Not to mention the idea of creating your own DOF assignments. As for everything else, I have chosen to treat this as if it were a Foundry mission. First of all, why couldn't the first DS9 interior map take place in the social zone? When I beamed aboard DS9, it was like midnight on the promenade. Very little immersion and disappointing MMO interaction. Dialogue selections were long and dragged an already wall-of-text mission into a grind. Voiceovers were great and well done, however held up the pace of the mission. They were also overused. The best dialogue in the mission was a Ferengi called Horben, who told me what I needed to know, and if I wanted more information, I simply read the text. The life of the NPC voicing their dialogue was also limited. The only NPC that made me feel like I was interacting with it was a Gorn because, well, he was already doing a talking animation. The thing that this mission really needed was either animation within the dialogue boxes or NPC animation during dialogue. Can you imagine what the Foundry community could do with that sort of tool? The other thing that had returning players running for trees and ducking for cover was the lack of consistency of simple stone mechanics, such as NPC talk and map icons, objectives, descriptions, and format, as well as optional objectives that distracted you from the plotline. I took out a dreadnought and didn't even get a battery. And last but not least, if it is the devs' goal to make all the feature episodes an attempt to do what Star Wars Tor has done with their MMO, I see doom and gloom for future content updates. Stow is a unique type of MMO, unlike any other, and it is the style of this MMO, as well as the franchise, that will have players lining up for years to come. Cryptic, don't jeopardize that by concentrating on the competition. So, if this was a Foundry mission, it would probably be treated like this. A good, competent mission with too much selection and little direction. Gameplay 3, Trek 3, Grind 3, Design 3.5, Difficulty 3. Needs polish 4 stars. All the criticism aside though, this is a good Stow mission, with some excellent new mechanics. But one question remains, and as anyone who has tried to do a series knows, it's the direction of the overall plotline that is important to the story. So, is this mission a good prelude to a crisis? As to that, I say yes. It was awesome.
Hello, I am Solicitor Brand. Have you been injured in a transporter accident? Or maybe some careless hoarder rubbed against you in the turbo lift someplace, causing third-degree burns? How about all those terrible viruses that alien visitors bring with them to your planet? It's enough to make your lobes itch. Well, I'm here to tell you that you could be entitled to gold-pressed latinum, and a lot of it. Like the 182nd rule of acquisition states, if all else fails, sue. That's where I come in. I will fight to my last breath to get us the latinum you deserve, or at least what you can get. Just listen to Mr. Bollock, one of my clients.
It's true. My wife and I were finally able to get away to Riza for a well-earned vacation. We arrived as planned and beamed down from a Bolian transport vessel with the rest of the passengers. When we reached the surface, one of my kidneys had been replaced with some Andorian woman's carry-on bag. Later that night, a lifeguard had to pry my missing kidney out of a stray targ's mouth. It really put a damper on the whole vacation. Somebody had to pay, and Solicitor Brand made sure they did.
Thank you, Mr. Bollock. I know how terrible it was for you, but I'm glad I could help you get the justice you deserved. The transport owner took care of all Mr. Bollock's medical expenses and extended hospital stay. And I didn't even collect a single slip of latinum, thanks to Mrs. Bollock and her talent for umaks. And remember, if I don't win, you don't pay much.
Brand, he'll fix your problem if he can. Oh, Brand, for compensation, he's your man.
Welcome to this episode's edition of Published in Primetime, our list of viewer-submitted missions. They are sent to us at mailbag@PrimetimeUGC.com, and here they are. For the Fed side, Badlands Patrol Gone Bad by Infidelicious. The Wounded Among Us by Slickacrick 1701E. A Light in Reflected Darkness by HMS Tamilles. Once Upon a Time Part 5 by Slim Switch. Camelot Under Siege by Tucana. The Admiral's Gopher and Trembler 1, 2, and 3 by Commodore Bob. Everybody Comes to Luke's by Greg 247. Helena of Troy by Kirkfat, and Flashpoint Q by Rogue Enterprise. And for the KDF side, unfortunately we have no submissions this time around. So if you have a mission you want advertised, just send it on to mailbag@PrimetimeUGC.com. And that's going to do it for this episode of Primetime UGC.